This episode of the Restoration Today podcast is brought to you by Goldmore. Is your business struggling to retain employees? Stop burning out your workers, do more with less, and start increasing your profits. Become a licensed Goldmore member today and grow your profits using their proprietary system in your restoration business. Goldmore is so confident they offer a 90-day money-back guarantee on the license fee if you are not completely satisfied with the results. Visit goldmoreusa.com to discover how you can truly benefit by using Goldmore, the easiest, most profitable mold removal system, period. Hey there, thanks for checking out this episode of the Restoration Today podcast. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by somebody that I actually helped get a job once. When I was back in my recruiting days, when I worked with Wylander, I met Reese, I think back in 2019, maybe back when Venturi was response team 1, and now he's a project manager for Venturi out in California. So I wanted to bring Reese on to talk about what it's like to be a project manager in this industry. I know Reese has a lot on his plate, is always running jobs. He's joining us from a job site. So talk about multitasking. I love it. So Reese, thank you very much for joining me. I'm just going to start by having you kind of introduce yourself and share your background in the restoration industry and construction.
Yeah, definitely. I started off, I got my master's degree in project management. I used to do IT and development marketing, but I got picked up by a venture capitalist firm after I graduated. They were in multiple industries, but they specialized in development and triple net leasing all over the country. So we were building like Dollar Generals, Range Rover dealerships, stuff like that, and then multifamily properties. I was traveling like 100,000 miles a year. Which a lot of project managers do, living in and out of hotels. The lifestyle is great, but my body just couldn't take it anymore. So I wanted something locally. I started looking, and then thankfully I met you and I got the job here. You know, I actually applied for like the general manager position, and the VP really liked me a lot, but I didn't have any restoration experience at the time, but I had a lot of construction experience. So I started off as a project manager, and it was definitely different. You know, restoration is way harder, I think, than new development, in my opinion. So
what do you think makes it harder? Like, what parts of it are harder?
Well, because you're dealing with clients, you know,
yeah, that'll make it harder.
When you're doing new development and construction, you're building boxes, and you know that you're doing it right from the beginning. When you're doing ground up, you just know, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's bigger volume and bigger projects, but you know, when I open a wall up, there could be so much. I've seen so many crazy rigged things from people, which is insane. And then, you know, with restoration, I'm thankful for the clients and all the program work and all that. But sometimes, you know, you get married to a client that you may not want to be married to, but you have to deal with it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So, what is it like being in the restoration industry coming into, I mean, how did you ramp up your volume of work really fast, or like, did they dump a lot on your plate? Is that something you've had to work up to?
So what happened is when I first started, you know, they started me off like 5 jobs, figured still a little smaller jobs. And then like, I'd say maybe like a month in, they just started throwing me really big jobs. And I think I started failing forward like anybody. You start learning things, and I'm happy that they were able to teach me and work with me on that, you know, it's a good training. I learned so many things. Don't do this, don't do that. And I think everyone fails. And, you know, I wanted to give up so many times because it was very stressful. I was freaking out, but I just, I learned, you know, through the process. And then, all right, hey, that's one thing I'm super appreciative about our company is that, you know, they worked with me. And then now, you know, my margins are amazing. I learned the subs, the system. I built a team around myself that works well. And I think that's how I've been successful.
So how did you build a team around you? Like, do you have your own subs that you're able to call into your jobs that you've built relationships with? How did that go?
Yeah. So we had some subs. I also brought in subcontractors, you know, and I think that with teams, I brought in a few subs that were really good. I've worked with before in development, but like when I brought them in, I also was hyped up to bring people in because we need subs. And then other project managers are like burn them, and, you know, and stuff like that. So it sucks that, so you got to build your team. You also have to help your teammates out, but I think you have to worry about your core construction first, make sure that you're good, and then you help everybody out. But I made flyer, like, of course we do advertising and all that, but I made flyers, and my main guy right now, I got referral from a friend, thankfully. And then my other guy, I use a subcontractor recommended him to me because he was a little bit older. And his last company, it was like a plumbing company, was a handyman. that they used, and they needed somebody. So I brought him on. So thankfully I got lucky that way. And I just figured out a system, everyone works differently. A lot of guys like in-house guys. I personally like to sub out like 80% of my work. And then I kind of have my in-house finisher guys that take care of the little tiny things or, and rest. And for me, that's how I've been able to manage so many projects at one time. Like during the pandemic, I was doing like 40, 50 projects at a time. It is insane. I was going crazy, but it was worth it,
I'm sure it was. So what was the average dollar size of those jobs? Because I know they can range from like, you have like a $2,500 water loss up to a multi-million-dollar fire, right? It can be.
I would say, of course, there's always little tiny ones. And the thing is, the tiny ones are just as much work as the big ones because you're still dealing with client scheduling, delays, material selections, all that. I would say most of my jobs are like 20 to like 60, thousand. That was kind of my average of, always a few $100,000 plus jobs, but a lot of them, I really like the 20 to 80, because then it's like I'm doing full floors, maybe a kitchen and maybe a bathroom. So I flow it like that.
So what tricks have you found to keep subs willing to work for you? I know you've said that like they can get burned by other PMs or whatever. So how do you keep them engaged with you, and maybe your crews too? That goes the same for your crews and techs that are willing to work with you.
I personally, I hate being, everyone works differently. So if something works for me, it may not work for you. I personally hate being micromanaged. I'm self-sufficient. Okay. So when people are micromanaging me, it bothers me, but some people have to be micromanaged. So like my one guy's really good. I just tell him what to do and then he knocks that out and I'm not on his back. But other people, I need to go there. I need to ride them because that's just how everyone's driven and motivated differently. And I also try to be cool. I'm understanding. I'm not, we all mess up. And I think that if we, like, for example, we were demoing a floor for a job from another project manager that there was a warranty job for flooring. So we're demoing the flooring and tile broke, right? We're demoing the floor, the tile in the kitchen broke, and it sucked because we had to pay for a new tile floor in the kitchen. But I had to tell the guy, like, hey, like when we're doing demo, like, I was upset, thankfully, our company understands, and it was a learning experience. Hey, look, when we have to cut the transition with a multi-tool first before we do all this stuff. Cause I think when he pulled the glue, it broke a tile, can't match the tile, $2,000 mistake, but you don't usually make those mistakes again,
All right. So I want to dive into a little bit more about your background. You have some background in kind of sales, customer service, stuff like that. So how is that translated well into the restoration realm, being a PM, working with customers, clients, maybe not having a great day, all of that?
Thankfully I got trained as this, I did business development sales for Sprint. That was really helpful, rotating clients all the time, always dealing with problems. And then I did, I was IT and marketing. We did a lot of EB5. A lot of people had products and we would market that. So I think you have to market yourself. Every customer wants to be different. And customer service, the customer, you have to hold your tongue, and everything like that sometimes, where you have to make sure that everyone's happy, and it's hard to make everybody happy. And sometimes you just don't vibe and click with clients or whatever. So it's a learning experience. And yeah, I don't know, it's tough or whatever. It's but it's worth it. I try to be upfront. Everyone sells differently. Everyone does. I try not to set false expectations, especially in restoration. It's not like somebody's cutting me a check and saying, I want to go do the kitchen. Sometimes I have to wait for supplements. Xactimate pricing is not the best all the time. And I have to tell clients that upfront, hey, look, I could start doing drywall paint, no problem. But for your kitchen or for your flooring, I'm gonna have to bring my sub out here. We're gonna have to bid it to make sure we get something good. I'm gonna have to submit it to your adjuster. I can't do that until your adjuster approves it, And sometimes it's upsetting. Sometimes customers are happy about it because you know what, they don't like their floor, or whatever. So, and we're gonna do it right. Like I don't want to rig anything,
Sure. I know every restoration company is set up a bit different, but are you a salesperson as well? Like, are you sometimes the first person on a lost and talking to the customer first?
Sometimes, but we have a mitigation team first.
Okay.
Usually they'll come out and then we'll have an estimator come out. They'll estimate everything and then they'll either sign with the estimator, or sometimes like the client wants to meet the project manager before we do the project. They gave me like more high-end areas. So a lot of the clients want to meet me before they'll sign with us. So sometimes like I'll go out there and like, they want to see if we'll click, see if, if I'll fit the area, show them some projects I've done. all that stuff. So it's definitely worthwhile.
Talk to me about burnout a little bit. Like, how do you keep yourself from burning out when you're running that many jobs at once? And I think that you're involved in other things like maybe real estate and some other, like you're busy, right? So how do you keep yourself from burning out?
I just work hard. I think thankfully I have the right team around me right now, and I'm super appreciative. I think that's the number one thing. A lot of people try to do everything, and I'm a control freak for work, but I'm happy I have the right team, and my right hand guy is awesome. So that's super awesome. But it's tough or whatever. I mean, I usually on Sundays I force myself to not work at all, like no matter what. Like I turn my phone off, everything like that. Like I don't like I don't answer my phone after 6 o'clock for work phone unless like I see a text or a call that like my house is flooding. I refuse to do that because you have to have a life too, and it's tough. You want to do it. And then if you answer the phone at 7 o'clock at night and then or 9 o'clock at night, or sometimes it's been after midnight, clients are crazy sometimes, then they always expect that. So I always, after 6 o'clock is me time. I try to have my life, and I work really hard during the week. Saturdays, I'll kind of catch up, plan my next week or whatever, but I'll have like more chill day. And Sunday, I always just like relax. I'll go to the beach or do meditation, something like that, because to me, that's the only way. But the first 6 months, I mean, it was really crazy in restoration. So it was a learning experience.
Okay. So you're ideally not answering your phone after 6. What time does your day start?
I wake up at 6 o'clock, and then usually we're doing phone sales at like 7 to 8:30. And then I start going to different job sites, or it depends if I have, like if I'm starting flooring that day, I always try to be on that job site when a new trade is starting. Okay. I don't go to the same job all the time. It depends. If a client's super touchy, I have to babysit them, I will, but it's like, here's a floor, I'm going to be here for flooring. Hey, the tile's going in, I'm going to be here to start of the tile. Then I'll check in like 1 or 2 times to make sure that it's tough to be, I mean, especially in LA. Right now I only have 30 jobs, but like before it's like, I could do 2 or 3 jobs a day. So it's like that 5 days a week or whatever, that's 15 jobs, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I really can only, so you have to really pick and choose on stages. And that's why it's great to have a good right-hand man. I think that's worthwhile.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite technology that you use on job sites or for the restoration process? There's a lot out there now.
I mean, I love the laser measure. I mean, I use that 24/7. I really like a portable vacuum with the battery. I think it sounds stupid, but that's super big. I always keep cleaning supplies in there and trash bags in my car because you just never know. But everyone has their way,
Do you guys use like Matterport or DocuSketch or any of like the newer?
I love Matterport for sure, but it takes a lot of time to sketch everything. So I think depending on the size of the job, if it's just something like flooring or something like that, it's not worth it. But if you're doing like a fire loss or a full house, 100% it's worth Matterport, because at the end of the day, in my experience, a lot of people don't pay attention to their house and there's a lot of dings or anything like that. So I think photos are the number one thing for sure. And you have to, because I've had clients 6 months later, like, oh, my floor is damaged, and I have a photo exactly what they send me of it not being damaged or something. It's crazy.
Yeah. So. Yep. What are some of the big things that you've learned so far being a PM? Like, it might be a mistake that you won't repeat, or I don't know, words of wisdom that you would impart onto other project managers who are like, I want to run that many jobs because the commission's.
Yeah. I mean, I think the key is, if in a dream world, I would love to run 15 jobs, you know what I'm saying? But then it's like, then the numbers aren't as good. So it's like, there's pros and cons to everything or whatever. So, but for me, I think the key is to try to not be okay delegating tasks. I think that's the number one thing, because you're going to burn out if you don't. And build good vendor relations, like getting discounts of tiles. I have pro accounts set up at like Floor Decor, Ems or Tile, all that. So if they need samples, I tell clients to go there, and you just have to make a system that works for you. And sometimes it may not work out, but you got to fail forward and just keep on grinding,
So I know the whole concept of people are people, but have you found that there are things that you do to treat people in like higher end homes, higher end losses, things that you need to bring to the table to help kind of close those deals versus more of maybe a middle class, I hate to say that, but like middle class home?
Yeah. I mean, I deal with like a lot of houses that are like $5 and $10 million plus. It's, you know, I'm in Malibu to, you know, Palos Verdes in Orange County, up and down the coast. So, I mean, a lot of these houses are, I mean, personally, I dress the part, you know, like they make fun of me at work or whatever, but like, you know, I wear like Ferragamo or Gucci shoes in there, and I have like a really nice briefcase, and I just try to present myself that I belong in these areas. I hate that you don't need nice stuff like that to be that person, but I try to be presentable, you know, and I think that's a major key, you know.
You only get one chance to make a first impression, and appearance does matter sometimes. I mean, there is a difference. There's a plumbing company out there that like thinks about, because they know that they're going to meet a lot of women homeowners. And so they have like a very specific way that they make sure that their people dress to make sure that they look appropriate and professional when they come to a home, and that women are going to trust them. So
yeah, we wear polos and, you know, jeans, you know, so we try to be, you know, it's not like I go through a lot of t-shirts, because like sometimes, you know, my guys are helping out. Like that's a big thing too. There's some project managers that are really, really lazy. And sometimes I get lazy too, but like I'll go load up at Home Depot with my guys. Like I'll help them carry drywall. I'll help them do toilets or trash or whatever, because you have to, because your guys, if they believe that you're helping them out, they're going to work harder with you also. They know you're grinding. Because I could just sit, a lot of people I know that are project managers sit in their truck all day, work on the computer or phone, but I like being on the job sites. I like helping them out. And it's kind of like a team. And like, for example, whenever I have like a really good month, like I'll buy my guys lunch sometimes. So like I took them, there's this place in Beverly Hills, I had a really good month or whatever, and I took my one main guy there for lunch because he worked really hard and made sure that I achieved all my goals. So I like the reward, even though it was out of my pocket. You know, the company didn't pay for that, but I did it because it was worth it. You know, we're all winning. I try to make it like a family atmosphere. You know.
Okay, so you've done a lot of different things, and you were in more general construction GC before this. So what has kept you in restoration?
You know, I love it. I like the turn and burn process. I feel like I'm just learning everything. I mean, you're doing, instead of doing 6 really big projects that are huge multi-million-dollar projects, you know, I do like 100 a year, you know, which is great. And then you get to learn everything. Oh, this wasn't done right. I've seen so beautiful bathrooms that we had to rip out because like somebody didn't hot mop it or just put it. I mean, just crazy things like that. Plumber's putty as a donut ring on a toilet. It's just like stuff that's like mind blowing. Just like, so for me, I think that restoration is great. Even if you're ever going to pivot to another part of construction, because the volume, you get to learn so much and what you should do. And then it's like you're fixing everybody's problems. So it's kind of like you're saving the day. So it feels good to bring, you know, you're going against a $1 billion company. So it's good to be like, hey, I'm going to help you out, because insurance is great, but their whole goal is not to pay. So my goal is to make sure that you get taken care of.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What's your technique for working with adjusters and making sure that things are getting covered and the client is getting taken care of?
It's tough. A lot of adjusters are not in California. So like, you know, they'll see stuff, pricing on supplements. Like, for example, like kitchen cabinets, I was doing a house, it was like $1.6 million. You know, I went to school on the East Coast, and that house would be $300,000 all day on the East Coast. And it's $1.6 million here. So it's like a $1.6 million house. And the adjuster didn't like that it was 32 or 36,000 for the kitchen with countertops, which is cheap, you know, in a $1.6 million house, but $36,000 to them sounds like insane for a kitchen. But I'm like, it's the house, you know, I mean, it's unfortunately, you know, that's, you know, and that's not even like, I mean, a lot of houses are way more. That's just a normal house, you know, and it's tough. I have to tell them, hey, we're in California, you know, our minimum wage is more. Everyone's slammed out. Every house out here is, you know, the average medium household is $846. So it's like, I'd say 98% of the houses I touch are over $1 million, you know, so.
Have you been affected by, sorry, say that again?
Things cost way more money out here, you know, and taxes and, you know.
Have you been affected by supply chain issues? Have some of those eased up by now?
Yeah, it's more expensive still. You know, for sure. Like I bought 2x4s the other day and they're like $650 and they used to be like $340. So they're not like $9 like they were, 8 something, but it's still expensive. I did have a client, thankfully, most of my clients are flexible. I kind of tell them heads up, hey, look, with all the supply issues going on, like maybe I can't get that exact floor, but if you're like willing to move it around. So I try to see what's in stock, but like I had a client pick this one floor from Vietnam and it got stuck in the port of Long Beach for 4 months. And I was like, hey, like the vendor, like it's not me, I'm not blowing you off or anything like that. I was like, we could switch you different floors. Like, no, I want that one, I want that one. So I was like, okay. So that's what we did.
Communication, right? Communication is a huge part of this.
Communication key.
All right. So before we wrap it up, I always love to ask people if they have any good examples of interesting jobs you've been on. I know you can't probably, tell specifics if you've been like at a celebrity's house or whatever, but you have any interesting job sites you've been on or losses you've handled in the last few years?
Yeah, I've done a decent amount of celebrities' houses, like award. It's cool to walk in there and have like awards and all that. I've done some beautiful houses, which I'm super thankful for. It's my passion. But yeah, I mean, celebrity clients, they're cool, a little more needy, but I can't really say who they are, but it's been awesome or whatever, doing stuff like that. And my thing is that I love that I'm in houses because like I'm trying to get to that type of level, eventually. And it's awesome. I mean, my company has been great. They helped me I got my license. So I'm a licensed general contractor. I became like the license holder for us in California. So I'm super thankful for the opportunities. And if you work for a good company that believes in you and you're driven, it's worthwhile.
Perfect. Okay, Reese, anything else to add before we wrap it up? I appreciate you sharing all of your insight into being a PM.
Yeah, I think this never give up. It's every day is interesting and it's going to be hard times, but there's a lot of great times. Sometimes the stars align and everything's perfect. So just keep on grinding and build your team around you. That's what I recommend. It's all about getting the right subcontractors and having the right team. If you have that, you could do anything, no matter what size of the job. And
you've proven that you can have a work-life balance, which not many people achieve that. So kudos to you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Nice chatting with you, Reese. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
For more Restoration Today, visit our website, cnrmagazine.com, or find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts.